unfortunate that addiction is a brain disease, and many of us do not know that. Before I came to SAPTA, I never knew about that. I thought it's just a behavior someone has corrected somewhere and they can stop whenever they feel like. Unfortunately, it's not like that. And it's a progressive process for you to be addicted. And there are stages that you're supposed to pass through for us to say, so and so is addicted and need help. Take us through that. Because, Catherine, we can't classify a person who just started using beer, maybe, or something else, or other substances for 2 months, and we classify this person as an addict and needing rehabilitation. Take us through those stages of addiction.
Okay, addiction is a progressive disease that follows through various stages.
Yeah.
Like if you're to look at a disease like malaria, people don't just automatically get malaria the moment they have been bitten by a mosquito.
True.
There's going to be an incubation period.
Yeah.
So in a similar way, you find that with addiction, people will not just become addicts the moment they use. We have stages, which the first stage we call it experimentation. Experimentation, people are using it for purposes of curiosity. What will happen? How does this taste? How does it make somebody feel? Other times, the reasons as to why people would want to experiment is because of peer pressure. So if there is a rewarding experience from that experimentation, somebody is likely to use again. If you're my friend and then I come and tell you, Danny, today I'm so stressed, and then you tell me, you know what? Me, at times when I feel so stressed, I take 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Maybe you can think of trying that.
Yeah.
And then I try that and I realize I managed to get a very good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So what is likely to happen because of that positive feeling? What is likely to happen? It increases my possibility of using again or drinking again. So somebody now moves from experimentation to becoming a social user. If we go to parties and there is wine that is offered, because I have experience with it, I'm able to test here and there, or maybe occasionally weekends, get-togethers like that. So here at the social stage, where sometimes many people tell that they are there, is there are no consequences, so to speak.
Okay.
But even if there are consequences, people will always say that I can control my drinking.
Yeah.
They haven't seen themselves sleeping on the trenches. They haven't seen themselves failing to go to work, so it's not a problem.
Okay.
But there are those that will create social events every so often. I'm a social user, but I have a social event Monday to Friday. So you no longer become a social user. Your use is very regular. So from social stage now, people move on to what we call an instrumental stage, which unfortunately is where we find many people here. In the instrumental stage, it can be for 2 reasons. Somebody is using it as a coping mechanism. You remember that example I gave you of stress. So when I'm stressed and I can't get sleep, that's what I take. When I've gone through a loss and I don't know how to deal with it, I just want to numb this pain, that's what I drink. So there's a very high risk of progressing into developing addiction when somebody is using it for compensatory purposes. Others will just use because they like being high, and that is the pleasure that they are looking at. We call it hedonistic use. So the more they want to get high, the more they will use. And then after that, it progresses to becoming something that is habitual. No particular reason, but it has become part and parcel of life. At the habitual state, somebody's now sense of control is getting lost. The problems of now the drug or the substance they have been using start to manifest themselves. Maybe issues with relationship, argument with girlfriend, wife, parents have started to emerge here. And then the last stage, which is the addiction stage, here now somebody lives, thinks, dreams about using the substances. They don't have a sense of control. They crave for it. They have become dependent on it. And here they may not stop when they want. In the first 2 stages, somebody can stop when they want. In the third stage, when the many problems that somebody needs to utilize the drugs to cope are, the more the person will keep on drinking. And as they are taking, there are certain things that are happening, changes happening in their brain that make them vulnerable to keep on losing their sense of control, hence progressing to addiction, that compulsive stage now.
Wow. So my viewers, addiction does not come overnight. It's a process that goes by the stages. Catherine has clearly said that the first 2 stages, one can stop when they want. At what point, Catherine, does one now, you can't stop and you need intervention?
When you are at the instrumental stage, where now we start seeing red flags, and this is where probably we can connect with trauma. When we are having somebody that is using, they used to drink before, but they seem suddenly to be drinking a lot more than they were drinking. There is a red flag. The addiction may not have set in yet, but they will need help to be supported to deal with whatever is making them drink more. So whatever they are trying to cope, instead of using the drug as a coping mechanism, they may need help to address that other issue. At the habitual stage, whereby people now are starting to lose a sense of control, there may need to be now more structured intervention. This can happen either somebody is going to what we call outpatient program, that somebody can go on their day-to-day life, but they have days and times that they are going for sessions that are structured to help them understand their addiction and at the same time help them to restructure their life outside the addiction and address those other underlying issues. At the compulsive stage, whereby people lack a sense of control, here someone may need more than just an outpatient program or more than just counseling. They may need to go to rehab. But we can't just use that criteria alone to say who goes where. We have tools that we use in assessing to see where somebody will fit best and where they will be taken. At times parents will be, their son had been found to be using drugs in school, and then they're like, hey, my son needs rehabilitation. And this was the first time that they were using. They probably were just experimenting. And because of the fear about possible addiction developing, parents go hulabaloo about it. And at times they probably would be worried that the counselor is not seeming concerned and worried about their son because of it. Because there's a certain criteria of who goes where and who needs services. But someone, if they have met now their addiction, they cannot do without the drug. They are taking a lot more than what they used to take. That they have developed symptoms that are related to the substance use, liver cirrhosis, blood pressure is there. They have gotten fired, their wife has packed. All these problems, nobody wants to talk to them. They have sold pieces of land everywhere. So now there we may say this person needs to go for rehab, where there are other structures and the family will also get involved in it. But allow me to talk about the trauma bit and how this connects to addiction. In the instrumental stage, where people use the drugs as a coping mechanism, when people have gone through traumatic experiences, there is pain and there is a change in how people perceive the world. One of the reasons as to why people would use is to medicate, to numb that pain. Some symptoms is I can't sleep. I am having these constant thoughts that are coming. I have these constant thoughts of, I wish I was dead. So if someone uses the drug, they realize that they are able to shut off those feelings. So in most cases, people who have trauma, they are using the drug as their medicine. There is a certain pain, physical or emotional, that they are medicating. And some of the common drugs you will find that people who have gone through traumatic events would be using, they'll be using alcohol, they'll be using heroin, they'll be using marijuana, and sometimes cocaine. Why? Because of how the use of those drugs changes communication in the brain by giving some kind of stability. So it's like they are serving as medicine because of how they are acting in a person's brain, making them more attractive. Somebody that is depressed may be very irritable. So when they have 1 or 2 blunts, they feel that they are able to relax. So why not go for it if it is helping me relax? Someone that is depressed, if they smoke cocaine, or use cocaine by whatever mean, and they feel that they are suddenly motivated to face life and energies. So why not use it? So we need to look at people with addiction from lens of possibility that they may have gone through some traumatic life experiences that they have never addressed, either in childhood or even in the course of their life, and they have been running away from it. We talked of avoidance. So that use of the drugs is an avoidance mechanism that they don't face it. And many of the people, sometimes when you're looking at journalists, people who are in the military who have to face trauma every day. They may use drugs, but when you're using, when you tell them that they have an addiction, they may not be seeing it. When you ask how it affects them, being in those situations every day, they say it doesn't. Why does it not affect them? Because they run and they use the alcohol. The alcohol numbs it, so I don't get to think about it. So here is something that somebody is trying to avoid and trying to medicate. So we need to unpack that trauma and address it also, because when they have medicated for so long, they are not only now dealing with the trauma, but also they have created the addiction problem.
It's true. It's very unfortunate that, and I think it happens unconsciously, running away from issues instead of facing issues and dealing with them. I think it happens unconsciously, but the repercussions are worse than facing the problem. You identify with what Catherine has talked about. Just be bold enough, take the first step and seek assistance. You don't didn't need to go all the way into the addiction, while there are therapists out there who can assist you, can work with you, and who can be able to heal your past traumas or even your present traumas. Is it okay, Catherine, to say that for you to heal from the traumas, there is the remembering, there is the talking about it, and there is also another part of healing?
Yes.
Yeah. So is there help, Catherine, for someone out there who has identified with all these stages? They may be saying, I'm in the 3rd or 4th or 5th stage. Is there hope for them? Is there help? And if there is help, tell us about that.
Yes, indeed, there is hope. There is help. Can you imagine a world where there was no hope or help? People would remain stuck. People remain stuck in, finding unhealthy ways of coping because they haven't known where can I go. I say it's okay to say I am not okay. So talk to someone. First, allow yourself to acknowledge that this thing happened to you. Then when you acknowledge that it happened to you, it may be painful at times to remember by yourself. And therefore, that is when it is necessary to have somebody that is there to support you. A starting point could be with the support systems that you have. You see, like I mentioned, in childhood, we used to be beaten. But when you're having friends that we are talking about, so it's like we have processed it and it doesn't linger on us. So this means, it doesn't mean that going through a traumatic experience translates to trauma. When there is adequate support to help you cope through it and process it, it is possible to just have the event happening and it not being traumatic. But if now it has left trauma in you, talk to a friend. Talk to your pastor, those immediate people that you have in your circles. But even then, if now that you feel you are not safe in discussing such matters with them. Find a therapist. Jani, I know, is also a therapist. I am a therapist. And there are so many therapists, out there. We have various counseling associations where you can identify therapists. So call a counselor. You check online, find a therapist. You'll be able to find a therapist there. And this does not mean that you have a mental problem. It just means that you have enough awareness to realize that your abilities and your coping mechanism have been challenged and you need someone else to help you process that. Doesn't mean that you're weak, doesn't mean that there is something that is wrong with you. Therapy, counseling, psychological services and psychiatric services, they are for you and I, and we all need each other. Share, tufumuke. Let's talk about it, and if you happen to be that friend that somebody comes to disclose to you, let it not be the information that you use for gossip. Imagine if it were you, how would you want someone else to support you and be there for that person?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Catherine, for taking your time to come and explore this topic that is very, very close to my heart. And from me and you, we tell our viewers, bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching. And it is okay to say, I am not okay. Talk, seek help. You don't have to suffer alone. Asanteni sana.